coming back. What we want you to do right now is lift up your right finger or thumb, whichever you prefer. Hit the share button. We want you to share those screens right about now, right before we get into our great discussion for the day. So, once again, share, share, and share alike. That's what the Bible says. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Quit List. I'm Dr. Stan. This is a show where we hit it and quit it. Today on the show, I'm joined by my guest, Latanya Robertson. Latanya is an author. She's the author of the book entitled Hey Friend, My Health Journey. Latanya, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Stan. Thanks for inviting me.
We're also joined by Robert Beck. Robert is a healthcare educator and a chemist. Robert, welcome to the program.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're also joined by Anita Hollins. Anita is a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. Anita, we're so glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, issue number one on the quit list. The African American diet. Is our food killing us? That's the question we want to tackle right about now. Is the African American diet killing us? African Americans, as we know, are a disadvantaged population. There's no debating that. The list of things that we suffer from our inequality and discrimination is endless. However, what is often not talked about is how these racial disparities might influence the physical health of Black people in America. So the question is our diet actually killing us? Robert, I want to go to you. What do you think about that issue?
Well, first of all, in all the research statistics says American Blacks, we have the highest rate of high blood pressure and strokes. And the research indicate the things that really cause that with our food is fried foods, barbecue, and pork. So if you go in all of our neighborhoods and look at the restaurants from 20, 30 blocks, and 90 plus percent of them are going to be fried foods and pork. So when you look at the results and the statistics, our diet is the number one cause of all of our health condition.
So,
Diet and
so are
nutrition,
you saying that if we should cut out fried foods, we'd be okay?
fried foods, barbecue, and pork will be three food items that we are most guilty of. And it has indicated that American Blacks, we have the highest rate of high blood pressure and strokes than anyone on planet Earth. So you first look at what food causes your condition, number one, and then of course your lifestyle, your diet, and nutrition. But the things that you look at the most is what food causes these conditions, and you can guess by the results on why we have those statistics.
Okay, I want to go to Anita for a second, but Latanya, I want to just ask you one thing very quickly. In your book, Hey Friend, you made a comment, and the comment was the food that we eat is the real weapons of mass destruction for Black people. What do you mean by that?
Well, actually, Stan, I got that comment from some of my research I did as I was researching. And what I meant by that is that pretty much what Mr. Beck just said. But I want to say that not just the African American diet, but the American diet is driven by convenience. That's the first thing I want to say. The American diet is driven by convenience, and convenience is truly the new killer. I was talking with someone and they said that, and I said, you know what, you're going to hear that again because convenience is the new killer, is what I like to say. Yes, excess sugar, fat, salt, we all know about that. Yes, the eating of the pork for the African American diet. This is all for is working against us instead of for us. So to add to that, yes, the words mass destruction was used, the weapons of mass destruction was used, referring to the African American diet. But this is what we need to be aware of: the heavy presence of meat in our diet, dairy, all of that contributes to the American diet, but more specifically with the fat, sugar, and salt, the African American diet.
Okay, Anita, you said that you are a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. What exactly does that mean?
So Chinese medicine has been around for thousands of years. It's focused on the balance of yin and yang, which is about harmony. So the dynamics of yin and yang, as well as five elements, which is also looking at wood, fire, water, metal, and earth. Didn't put them in order, but so that you get an idea. Qi is, according to Chinese medicine, and a lot of people feel like Qi is life source energy. So in our bodies, we have meridians, which are like highways. So just like any highway in the city, if it's flowing, we're good. If it's blocked, if you got a traffic jam, you're messed up. So from a Chinese medicine perspective, yes, the American diet and the African American diet is a culprit, because one of the things that we look at in Chinese medicine is temperature. So foods actually have temperature. And I'm just going to give you a couple of these. So like for warm and hot foods, for instance, beef, chicken, peppers, brown sugar, butter, garlic.
When you say hot food, are you talking about the temperature or the spice level?
Well, not about how it's cooked or prepared as far as the heat, but about the temperature of the food itself.
So you mean like 150 degrees, 160 degrees?
No, more so like, so you have cold foods like watermelon and lettuce would be considered a cold food.
Okay.
Neutral foods would be things like cabbage, because it's neither hot nor cold. And hot foods, which are foods that are warm in temperature that we would look at from a Chinese perspective, would be things like chicken, beef. Pork, oddly enough, is cool.
Okay, hold on before you go to pork. So with these particular types of dishes, hot versus cold, how does that impact our health?
So how it impacts your health is, so let's say you have a diet where you're primarily focused on eating a lot of hot foods, those foods that are considered hot. If you don't balance it out with colder foods or neutral foods, then your body's going to get overheated from that perspective. So now you have an excess in your body. And what does excess do when you think about heat? That's inflammation. It goes as far as like foods that are damp, because we also look at whether or not a food is damp or dry. So if something is damp and you have an overabundance of dampness, guess what happens? Inflammation. So this is how we look at foods and preparation.
So LaTanya, I want to ask you this. Now, Anita is saying, it sounds like to me that one of the prevalent things in relation to Chinese medicine in terms of improving your health is to make sure that your food is balanced between hot and cold foods. If you, LaTanya, had one thing that you can say that would help us in terms of our diet, what would that be?
Well, it's really, it's hard to pick one thing, but I'm going to go with this, and I'll stick with this. To increase the intake of fruits and vegetables daily. Whatever you're doing, if you add fruits and vegetables to your diet daily, and if we really took a look at that, we will see how many people really don't have that in their diets daily, and how many have meat in their diet at least twice a day.
So meat. So let's talk about meat just for a second. Robert, is meat a problem? I guess we'll get back to Robert. Looks like he's frozen for a moment. LaTanya, is meat a problem?
Meat is a problem.
Meat is a problem.
Okay, Robert is back.
Research-wise.
Okay, Robert is out again. LaTanya, go ahead.
Okay, I'll just say meat is a problem because of, in its purest form, meat could have some redeeming qualities. However, the ability to digest meat is a problem, and also how animals that farm animals are taken care of. We can hear you now.
We can, Robert. Hold on a second. Let LaTanya finish. Go ahead.
Come back in.
Go ahead, LaTanya. All right. So maybe LaTanya is froze. Anita, how does meat play into the Chinese form of medicine?
So
hold on, LaTanya.
The hormones,
LaTanya, can you hear me? If you can, you're breaking up. LaTanya, you're breaking up. Hold on for a second.
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
So both Robert and Latanya are froze. So maybe the producer can go ahead and reinstate them. Anita, what does meat do, or how is meat considered in terms of the Chinese diet?
So a lot of meat, like if your diet is mostly meat, what it's going to do is cause what we consider like stagnation. So you end up with blockages. If you have blockages in your system, that's going to affect the flow of your qi. If that affects the flow of your qi, then that means that with that stagnation, that's going to produce disease. You're going to have conditions all of a sudden to appear. So the thing is too, meat is hard to digest. And we a lot of times do not have the enzymes to digest meat properly. So if you do not have the fruits and vegetables along to aid in that digestion, then that means that's going to throw off your entire digestive system.
Okay. Robert, are you back with us yet? Robert, can you hear me? Okay, sounds like there's a problem there. So I want to ask you guys this question. Slave food versus soul food. I read somewhere where they said that the reason why Black people eat so bad is because of the idea that when we were in slavery, what we had to do is we had to eat the scraps that was left from the master's table. That means that we got the worst of the food choices, including, for example, that old good favorite, chitlins. So we know that chitlins are, in fact, the intestines of a pig, which sounds like the worst thing you probably could eat in the world. But the point is that we had to eat what we could in order to survive. So do you consider soul food as slave food? Would that make sense? Latanya, let me hear what you got to say about that.
Okay, let me see if I can explore this soul food versus slave food. I never heard it put like that, Stan, to be honest with you. But let me just say this, that there was a time where being able to add meat to your diet as an African-American family meant that there was a status symbol to that. That means you could afford meat. There were certain things, but at the same time, we ate a lot of beans, which is good for you. We did eat things that grow because we had to. So there's some redeeming qualities to the African-American diet. I don't want to get off this subject, though, without looking at the things that are available in the African-American community and how some of the economics and those factors play into what we eat. I do think ultimately that I'm responsible for what I put on my plate, what I put in my grocery cart. But I do not want to leave this topic without acknowledging that there are some other factors that play into the African-American diet that have to deal with economics and the disparities in economics and what is available to us for healthy options. And those are the things that are closest to us in our communities and the things that are available and the things that are on sale. I'll just say that. So I want to make sure I mention that.
Okay, I'm going to try one more time to see what's going on with our good friend, the chemist, Robert Beck. Robert, are you with us now? Yes or no? One word answer, yes or no? All right, we didn't get the one word, so I'm going to assume Robert is still frozen there. So we'll just go ahead and continue. Now, there's this idea or this thought, and we've only got a couple more minutes on this topic because we got to move to the next one. But there's this notion that our health, there is a connection between Black people's diet, Black people's health, and the coronavirus. We know that we are impacted the most of any ethnic group in the world by the coronavirus. Is that because of our diet? Anita, what do you think?
Partly. I think partly is due to our diet. And with the kind of diets that we do have, it has affected our immune system. So that's part of the key. If your diet is good and you are also adding the elements like exercise, keeping your mind sharp, those kind of things, then of course your immune system is going to be boosted. But if your diet is already lacking and is not in balance, then what's going to happen is going to affect your immune system, and it will cause you to be more susceptible to things like the coronavirus.
Gotcha. I'm going to wrap up issue number 1 with this question. It is time for us to hit it or quit it. And the question is,
can I just add that when we talk about the COVID and the African Americans, we cannot overlook the healthcare system, the things that have happened. I do believe that we have a personal responsibility to eat well, but I also want to say that a lot of the medications that's taken in the Black community, a lot of the healthcare and the quality of the healthcare provided has also contributed to the state that we find ourselves in as a people. And I want us to make sure that we continue to work on those equities in healthcare that will help us to be more educated about how we can prevent diseases and not just manage and treat them. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that.
All right,
Kudos.
that is a point well taken. Hit it or quit it. Anita, should Black people quit eating meat? And in particular, should Black people give up chicken? Hit it says, yeah, we should give up chicken. Quit it means no, we should quit admonishing people to give up chicken. What do you think? Should we give up chicken? Hit it or quit it. Hit the chicken or quit the chicken.
That's a hard one. So I would say yes, with a caveat: preparation and balance.
Okay, LaTanya, on the cover of your book entitled Hey Friend, you said that you never met a chicken wing that you didn't like. Hit it or quit. Hit the chicken wings or quit them.
I'm going to have to reluctantly say hit it, because I know what's best for us. Ultimately, we need to give up the meat products. We need to give up the animal products. You hit really hard there when you went for the chicken. You should have just said meat in general. I would have worked with that. But yeah, I know what's best.
Issue number two, overweight spouses. Should a spouse always tell the truth? Should a spouse always tell the truth? According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, African American women have the highest rate of being overweight and obese as compared to other groups. As a matter of fact, about 4 out of 5 African American women are considered to be overweight or obese. So the question is, are Black women just big boned? What do you think of that, Anita? Are Black women big boned, or are Black women in fact eating too much or doing something that causes them to be overweight or obese?
Well, what I've seen, especially when I was interning, is that we often look at overweight and obesity and attribute it to diet. But there's a couple of other factors that you need to consider. Stress can put weight on a body. If a person is overstressed, like we're living in a pandemic world, we're living in being Black in America world. Also, trauma, because what I've seen as well is that people who have experienced like extreme trauma can hold weight. So there are other components than just the food or the diet or the lack of exercise that can build into the question of weight.
LaTanya, what do you think about this? Why is it so hard for Black people to lose weight?
Okay, Black people, I'm glad we changed that, because I was going to address that Black women thing, but it's okay. I want to say that I think that Black people in general, there are a lot of stresses. There are a lot of things in our culture that we are trying to manage. I do think that leaves a little less time for us to have self-care, not that it's an excuse, but we are trying to think about the economy, racial issues, being at work, dealing with different dynamics there in the workplace. All of that plays on your psyche as well as your ability to focus on what's best for you. A lot of times you talk to people and you'll say, you got to watch what you eat. They're like, I just can't focus on that right now. I don't have time for exercise. I don't have time to worry about what I eat. We have to get what we need to get from the grocery store to get back home to do this. So I think that there are other dynamics that play into that. I will say, however, I often wonder about the weight issue with women. And it's a lot of times where you hear people say, women make it happen. They bring it together. They make sure that the family, everything's okay. The community, the church, we do it all. But that there's a cost that comes with us trying to be everything to everybody. And sometimes the cost is not taking care of me. So I do think it has to do with that. I do want to know, though, why generally when we talk about overweight, Black people, or we didn't talk about women. And even in a relationship, if the spouse is overweight, the focus is that I'm less attractive, the woman is less attractive, but men are overweight as well. So why is there no conversation, or why is it that men are still considered to be athletic or buffed when they're overweight? It's not necessarily muscle. Sometimes it's clearly fat. But women, it's always like, oh, she's too big. She's gotten big now. She needs to watch it. She needs to get herself together. So sometimes we put things on ourselves. Yes, we need to be healthy, but we also need to make sure that we're really cognizant of body image, positive body image, and make sure that we're giving positive messages at all time regarding unconditional love as well. I can talk about that more, but I'm going to step it. Yeah.
Okay, I see that Rosalind Shorter Henderson says that women need to do more self-care. Do more self-care. Now, Robert, I see that you're back. What do you think about what Rosalind just said, that women need to do more self-care? And to add to that, the question is why? And LaTanya alluded to this, and it seems like Rosalind might be kind of alluding to the same thing, and that is that women in particular have this issue. And the issue is that they have this double whammy. That's a technical term that I just made up. So women have this double whammy of the fact that they are the primary caregivers in the home, and they have things that they are responsible for outside the home as well. So what do you think about that, Robert? Is that a factor in terms of Black women and the issue of weight?
Absolutely. Because the thing about it is, the more neglect and the more things that you're doing and eating and not eating the correct things, you're going to affect your weight in every way. Because diet and nutrition is key. The correct nutrition and not the bad foods, and combination of all the things you need to do, starting with drinking heavyweight and ounces of water every day. If a woman don't do that, the retention of water, if you drink too much, it affects your health. There's a lot of factors. The research says that we need 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 60 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. The United Nations endorsed that research that if we don't get that, a lot of the cases on weight problem is a nutritional deficiency and not having a correct nutrients that you need. And when you're craving for food, you're craving for the nutrients that the body needs. But if you go and eat the things that does not help and that causes weight gain and fluctuation, it's all off. So it all goes back to diet and nutrition, and it has a major factor.
Okay, so let's assume that everything that you guys are saying is true, that there are many different factors that's going to impact whether a person is overweight or not. Also, let us assume that the focus is often skewed toward women when it comes to this issue of weight. So the question is, what do a spouse do? And I do want to stay with the issue of women, LaTanya, sorry about that. I want to stick with this issue of women, and it's because the research has told me that African American women are four out of 5 African American women are considered to be obese. And I'm not suggesting that Black men may or may not have the same issue. I don't know. But the research that I just saw, 4 out of 5 Black women. So my real question here is this. Assume that you are married and you've been married for a year, 5, 10 years, and your spouse was nice and slim when you married, and now all of a sudden that person is a little bit overweight. Now, how do you handle that? What would the husband do? And we can go ahead and flip that and get to the wife. We'll get to the other side in just a second, but I want to explore this for just a couple of minutes. What should the husband do if he feels unattracted to the wife because she has now gained a lot of weight compared to when they first met? Anita, what do you think of that?
Well, first of all, why? That would be my question. Why?
Because why did she gain weight, or why did he feel that way?
Well, not so much why did he feel that way, but for a man to think about his wife, why has she gained the weight? Because he's watching her eat, we would assume. So is it a diet? Is she under a lot of stress? Is she working out? And are there ways that he can be supportive, as opposed to looking at it from, you're now unattractive? What's the reason behind it? And then how can he be supportive of that?
Now that's a really good question. That's what I want to know. What, Latanya, what can he do to help her and be supportive?
Okay, so here's the thing. I think the husband needs to communicate that I love you unconditionally. And hopefully that's true. I love you unconditionally, no matter what size you are. I also think that he should be honest. Don't say that I'm worried about your health if you're not attracted to me. Say, I'm finding that I'm no longer attracted to you. Tell the truth, be honest, and find the time to say that with love. I do think that that's important, the communication piece. The other thing is that it is a family issue. It is not her issue. We're going to talk about what we're going to go to the grocery store, what we're going to buy. We're going to talk about how many times a week we're going to eat fast food. But I'm going to give her an opportunity to say, let me know when you're ready to start this journey, because I'm ready whenever you are. Just because I decided to mention it to you that day doesn't mean that's the day that she's going to decide I'm going to change my diet. So I think that out of love, you say, let me know when you're ready. And then the other thing that we have to keep in mind, even with this, is that making sure that you don't come in with pizza, chicken, making mac and cheese, but then telling me I need to lose weight. We really have to make this a family issue. This really has to be a team effort, and you really have to love me all the way through the process. And I think that that's what will be important to the wife as she starts that journey.
Okay, this is what I want to know from Robert. If you're still there, it looks like you may be froze again.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Now, Latanya said that. Yes, I can. We can hear you. Look, hold on. Now, Nisi is saying, give me that back again. I want to see what Nisi's saying. She said a lot of times overweight people don't overeat. It is medical. What about that, Robert? Is it medical?
This is this thing to be considerate. If you have a weight problem, the one thing that you have to do is sit down and evaluate what is causing this weight problem. Is it your medication? Is you not getting the correct nutrients? Are you eating all bad foods? Are you stressing? And any of these facts, as a husband and wife, they need to sit down because the facts need to be put on the table. Weight gain indicates a problem. There could be something going on. We need to find out if it's medical. Is it related to your medication causing you to eat? Are we eating bad? Are we not getting the correct nutrients that we need? Because all of these are factors that we have to really sit down and analyze and work on together, because it does not work if one of the husband or the wife is working on getting their health and getting their.
Now this seems like a big issue to me, because now, Latanya, I agree with something that you said, that it's good to talk about, it's good to communicate. That's the same thing Rosalind is saying, and that's the same thing it sounds like Anita and Robert are also saying. However, in real life, in practice, that is very difficult. In other words, how can I say to my spouse or, my loved one, you're overweight, even if it's a son or a daughter? How do you do that? How do you tell that person that, they're overweight in love? I don't know. I don't know how that would work. Anita, how can that actually happen? We've only actually got a couple more minutes left on the show. So very quickly, how would you do that?
Well, first of all, it comes down to, again, honesty, and then also being kind, because as opposed to being accusatory, why not have a kind of conversation where it's coming from a place of love? If it's coming from a place of love, you should be able to ask a question out of support and be able to, build on that. Not so much accusatory or judging, because it's not about judgment at this point. It's about, I'm loving you and I care about you.
Okay, Latanya, I have one last question for you, and that is, let's see what Andre Prophet is saying. He says that this is good information, even if you are single. Thank you, Andre. That's a good point. Even if you're single, it doesn't matter if you're married or single. And again, the only reason that I pointed out marriage is because I see this trend. It looks like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Latanya, it looks like as you are married, and it doesn't matter if you're the man or the woman, once you get comfortable in that relationship, as more time passes by, everybody kind of settles in, you get more comfortable. And that's when, whether you're a man or a woman, you start to pick up the weight, you start to not groom yourself as much, you start to wear the t-shirts with the holes in them, you got the socks, you farting all over the place. What about that, LaTanya? Is that an issue? The longer that you're married, the more comfortable that you get. Now, and I'm assuming it's the same if you're in a single relationship.
I think that's absolutely true. I think that we all know that we do get comfortable once we're with someone, the chase is over, so we understand that. I think timing is everything. You don't want to tell me in the middle of an argument that I'm overweight. That's just not the time to tell me that. So that's just, so I think that timing is the key here. And just really, really, really taking me, even while I'm overweight, taking me out to shop, get my hair done, get my nails done, showing me that you love me the way that I am. And then we work on it and find that right time to mention it. And it might not be that moment, Okay,
I like that. So you guys, you have been listening to The Quit List. At this point, we need to find out, should we hit it or quit it? The question is, should a man always tell the truth? Now, it doesn't matter if you're talking about, am I overweight? I can never say to my wife, if she says, oh, do I look good in this dress? I'm not going to say, no, you don't. So the question is, should the man always tell the truth? Give me a hit it or quit it. Hit it means yes, always tell the truth. Quit it means no, do not dare tell me that I don't look good in this dress. Anita, what do you think? Hit it or quit it?
Again, here we go with a hit it with a caveat. Do it in kindness, do it in love.
Robert, what do you think? Hit it or quit it? Should the man always tell the truth? LaTanya, what do you think? Should the man always tell the truth? Hit it or quit it? Hit it means yes, always tell the truth. Quit it means no, do not dare.
I'm gonna say that quit it. There are too many caveats for me to say hit it to that. I think that if you see your wife, right, you might have to sometimes say you're looking good, even though you're like struggling with the fact that she's a little overweight. You got to use wisdom.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. We've been joined on the show today by Anita Hollins. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Robert Beck, the chemist, we appreciate you. LaTanya Robertson, the author of the book, Hey Friend, My Health Journey. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you guys. Liz Brownlow says, hit it. Liz says, hit it. Always tell the truth. Doesn't matter what the situation is. Get it done. And we thank you guys. We'll see you next time right here on The Quit List.
Camped out at home for COVID? Join us, Indie TV, where you will see the talk shows, movies, drama, action, and comedy. Be the first and see it first. Sign up now for free at Indie TV.